Brave. Commander type. Hey again, Robert184, Gundam.tk, and I'm here to wrap up my review of the high-grade 1/144th Brave Commander test type Graham Acres mobile suit from the Gundam 00 movie, with the all-important question of whether this kit is a yay or nay, well, in my opinion anyway. To kick things off here, first of all, the fact that it's in its cruise position doesn't necessarily mean that this is one of the weaknesses of the suit. But anyway, getting right into it, the worst thing about this kit for me is that, simply put, things fall off. And by that I mean a lot of them. The arms fall off, the elbows fall off, the waist armor falls off, the legs fall off, the feet fall off. So whenever you're posing everything, things are going to fall off, but that can be avoided as long as you just learn the limits of where each of the bends can go. And if you move everything carefully, especially with the hips, etc., then you're not going to have the legs fall off. But it was a little bit annoying. I haven't had a kit, I think, where I had like 10 things fall off just in the course of making these videos. Another complaint is going to be the side binders. You can see when they're here in this out position, they look very good, but when they're folded up, they have a resting together position, but it doesn't lock together. Something with a little bit more solidness there would make it, in its mobile suit mode, just look a lot better, I think, because as soon as you try to pose them, they do fall out of place. My next complaint, as I bring out the super Ziploc full of extra parts, is the all-white beam saber. And I said before, what is this, the year 2000? But what I meant is, in the decade of the 2000s and 2010, Bandai, you shouldn't be going back to the kind of things that you were doing in the 90s. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. And I wondered with why on the 8 plate, it seems like such a waste that they're going to put white up at the top and then have a separate white over there. This could have been incorporated, or they could have done that in a 4th color, and then the 8 plate would have gone from 3 to 4. There's a million different things that they could have done, or they just give us a clear part a la the Masurao, and that would have been a lot better. Now, the transformation for me is a little bit annoying the first couple of times that I tried it, especially when you're working with the chest. Everything's going to fall off, which goes back to one of my biggest knocks against this. But things don't really want to stay in place is my other complaint. Now that's fixed a little bit by fixing the binder or the legs here. And once you do that, you get a much better feeling of solidness about this whole thing. But otherwise, the way the arms and everything in the side binders can just move freely is not necessarily the best feature when combined with a transformation that's a little bit annoying around the chest area. Next up, there's too many stickers. A few too many. And mostly that's just my complaint down here on the weapon. And this is the kind of thing where they already have white on the A plate. Some of these side pieces could have just been pop-ins on either of those, and I don't mind the white seal down the middle, but 3 other white parts I think would have fixed all of the problems with the seals and just made the weapon have that much more pop. Now, as it is, I think that the weapon is attractive with its 3 colors there, with the black, the white, and the blue, and the way that all works together. But again, something that plastic is always better than paper when you're putting one of these things together. Finally, the design of the Brave itself. Now this is going to be totally up to you, the viewer, but that's not the fault of the model. But for me, Susanoo and Masurao, when they showed up in the anime, that was exciting. When you play a Gundam versus Gundam Extreme Versus and you see the Susanoo flying around, it looks great. The Brave for me is a downstep in the way it looks. Not the fault of the model, but that being said, it's not that I don't like the looks of the model, it's just not as flashy and outgoing as Graham's previous suits. One other small nitpick is that I wish it had more mobility in the arms so that you could bring them across, so that Graham could go Mr. Bushido style and be laughing at Setsuna for his silliness and youth. To balance that out though, there are a lot of positives, starting with the fact that this was a fun build. With the 4 plates and there not being too much color variation, I wondered if this might not be that exciting, but just those little bit of white details all over the place just adds a little bit of excitement when you're putting it all together, and the end result, as I've said before, the colors really work for me here with the blue, black, and white combination. In terms of looks of the shape, this is a very unusual shape for a mobile suit in Gundam, especially when you compare it to other grunt suits like the Zaku and their traditional fatness. The sleekness of the flags from the very beginning has always stood out, but the way that this one is surprisingly filled out, it's basically taking the skinny kid in the first episode, and or second episode, whenever the flag showed up, and then they get bigger, they get stronger, and especially with its height of the 20.2 meters, which seems to be slightly exaggerated here, with the model, I think the combination just looks fantastic. The other thing that is a real point for me is the head is great, despite the fact that it may seem overly simplistic when you're putting it together. When I saw 5 parts, I thought nothing of it, but when you put everything together, even with very little lining, the only thing I aligned were the ears at the top. The fact that you get the little scar over the left eye, all of those things add up to make the head the thing that really stands out on this otherwise simple color scheme, and I think that combination works well. And when you combine the energy cable, that's the extra pop and the ties to the past suits. Now when it's in its cruise position, surprisingly I think that does a very good job, and the most important thing to me is just how well it looks. First of all, you've got the binders, which are huge, and the way they stick out on the side, and when you add the knives on there, when they pop out, you get a lot of width to it, which takes away from the fact that you're otherwise just looking at a bent-over Gundam body. And when you add in the GN condenser and the rifle, all of a sudden you hardly even notice the mobile suit underneath. And that, for me, is an important part of a transformation, is that it hides the body well. In terms of the weapon, outside of the complaint about the seals, I'm really happy about it because you can put the ends, the barrels together, you can take them off, and you can have them there. So you're going to get 3 variations. And you don't have a lot of moving parts. I like that 2-step process for when you're putting on the ends there. That works really well. In terms of posing, I'm going to say that there are limits with the arms, as I said, but the ankles work surprisingly well, and I had a lot of misgivings about these because they have a lot of moving parts. And if you're holding up something, especially with a lot of back and butt baggage here, I wondered how they would stay up. But they work better than expected, and the front skirt, you have this sort of irony here where you can, and I know I'm not using the word there right, but you can put the skirt armor, the side armor, or the front thigh armor on top of it, or you can pop the armor out and put it underneath, and both work. And despite the fact that the hips may fall out as you're getting it there, I didn't have any problems with it, despite the fact that you'd think that these 3 pieces would all clash more than they do. I also like the way that the shoulder armor moves around here and gets out of the way and still allows it to have that sleek and forward-looking jet appearance as a transforming mobile suit should. Other bonuses are just the fact that you get the stand and that this works with both the mobile suit and with the armor. I'm glad about that. And the no polycaps. I know some people love them, I know some people hate them. For me, I enjoyed the build without the polycaps because I wanted to see how it was put together. Falling out parts, of course, is a consequence of that, but that's also what happens when you get a high-grade transforming Gundam. And the other thing that I really noticed about this at the beginning is, when I'm building lead Gundams, of course I have the Gundam markers, so it's very easy for me to go over the gouge marks, like I don't sand and do things properly. But with this one, Bandai did a very good job of hiding all of the cut marks in unobtrusive places, which means that even if somebody put this together with very little effort, they're going to have a pretty attractive looking package as long as they do a decent cut, because all the gouge marks, despite the fact that they're on the blue and the white can show up quite clearly, is hidden most of the time. So very good job on that. So now to bring it back to the most essential parts. I liked the flag design from the beginning. I think it was a very good counter to the Tierian, and as far as grunt suits and Gundam, really caught my eye. And because the Brave goes back to its origins with the flag, and how important the flag was to Graham, I think that this is his natural evolution, despite my complaints about this being a downgrade from the Susanoo. Graham goes back to his roots, and they take his roots and they make them filled out and awesome. So good job for Bandai with the storytelling and as well with the execution of the model itself. In terms of the fact that it may be a downgrade, at the end of the day, even if you do like mass-produced suits, I think you'll love this because it's probably one of the best mass-produced suits I've ever seen. And to give you an idea of how impressed I am with this, I'm not big on buying variations usually. If I've already built a kit, usually once is enough for me because it's the build that is half the excitement. But this almost makes me want to go out and buy the regular version. I enjoy the design that much. Now in terms of my final criteria, does this capture the feel of the anime? So close your ears for a couple of seconds of movie spoilers here, but it does. In the anime, when Graham shows up, it is fantastic. He saves the day, and of course he's essential in resolving the situation at the end of the movie, as you may have seen in my teaser. But the way that this model fills out with its size and bulk and the cool poses that you can pull off means that I can forgive it for its one horrible sin of the fact that everything is going to fall off. So the fact that it's a good suit, it goes back to the classics, and it really screams Graham all over, I can forgive it for not being as cool as Susanoo and for everything falling apart because of all of the other positives that are included in this kit. That wraps up my long review of the high-grade Brave, so thanks for sticking with me to the end here. And of course, you'll notice that there were quite a few changes along the way. Not radical changes, but just trying to make things a little bit shorter and streamlined. And of course, then I go babble on for 10 minutes with the verdict. But anyway, please let me know what you think about the videos themselves and the changes that are made. Some people will like the new music, some people won't. But of course, we'll see what happens. The changes aren't completely finished, and I will keep tweaking things from here and there. But I appreciate everybody who gave the feedback, and hopefully this is a little bit more easy to listen to than some of my previous reviews. So let me know what you think down below. Otherwise, please let me know what you think of the mobile suit, and, as I always say, hit like if you do, hit don't if you don't. That lets me know how you feel, and the comments are always appreciated. Anyway, I've really been enjoying building these high-grade 00 movie kits, and if they release more, like Setsuna's Flag and a few others, I will be there for sure. The quality of the high-grade 00 line has just gone from strength to strength, and this is just another quality example of it. But as the most important thing is thanks to you guys for being here to watch. Anyway, everybody, see you next time. Robert at 184 gundam.tk. Thanks again. You know, that apple was pretty good. I don't know. I've always been more of a Mikan guy myself. And thanks for that, Too Old for Toys. I can tell you that Bandai's going to make money off of me on whatever 00 movie kits they put out. So I hope we get a CeraV 2 and a flag out of that.